On my Patreon channel over the last few weeks, months really, I've sort of been developing the idea that maybe conditions in the United States are no longer, shall we say, ideal. Yeah. And I've been telling my followers there that it's time to leave the United States. And I've been going into some great detail on this particular issue. And I'm here to say so to you publicly on my free channel, on my CRP channel. I'm telling you that it is time to leave America. Now, why is it time to leave America? Very simple. You have to face reality and recognize that the socialist communists have won. They have won in the United States. They have the mass media, they have big tech, and big tech has flexed its muscle rather spectacularly over the last few days. They have the presidency and they have both houses of Congress. Irrespective of whether you think that they won the presidency and the Senate fairly or not, that's not the point of this video. I could really care less about that particular issue insofar as this video is concerned. Insofar as this video is concerned, we have to look at reality. We have to look at things as they are, not as we would wish them to be, and not saying, oh, you know, they cheated us and, you know, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Life isn't fair, okay? Life isn't fair. All you can do insofar as life is concerned is look at it realistically and decide what you're going to do. And when you look at the United States now, realistically, it is very obvious that the socialists/communists have won. Yeah, and they're making no bones about the fact that they intend to persecute their political opponents. They're saying it outright. Their leader, Joe Biden, is saying that he is going to implement measures that are going to benefit minorities and black people and women over basically everybody else. And who's everybody else? Well, you know, male white people. It's going to be open discrimination. You know, for all this talk about systemic racism and structural racism and all this crap, Joe Biden is actually saying that that is what he's going to implement. He is going to implement structural racism, yeah? Systemic racism. This is the definition of it. When the government says that they're going to benefit one race over another, that is the definition of systemic racism. That's what he's going to do. And it's not the only thing that he's going to do. No, of course not. The Biden-Harris administration have a whole host of measures that they're going to implement. Repressive measures. It's called repressive tolerance. Look it up. Repressive tolerance is basically the notion that you cannot tolerate the intolerant. And they are, you know, very happily purging people. And they're gleeful about it, as you can see. And they're going to purge more people. And there are going to be more indoctrination sessions at universities, at schools of different sorts, high schools, elementary schools. There is going to be indoctrination sessions in the corporate culture, in government offices. And it's all going to be the same message, you know, that white people are bad, black people are good. By definition are good. Women are by definition good. Yeah? It's not that human beings can be good or bad, and sometimes both in contradictory ways. No, no, no. It's going to be this Manichaean view of people, whereby people of color and sexual minorities are by definition angels, and everybody who's not that is of necessity evil. And if you happen to be in that category of evil people, well, you're going to have to go through all kinds of struggle sessions to prove that you're not evil. And of course, you can never prove that you're not evil now, can you? You can't prove a negative. And so you see how it's going to be? The Biden-Harris administration has said openly that they are going to declare war on the NRA. Yeah, because what do they intend to do? They intend to take away everybody's ability to bear arms. If they can't get rid of the Second Amendment per se, they are going to do everything in their power to make it almost impossible for somebody to have a weapon. And not only that, they're going to continue these COVID measures of control. Perhaps they're going to end the lockdown. And it seems from what Andrew Cuomo is saying that they intend to do that right quick in order to kickstart the economy, which of course would mean that the last 9.5 months of lockdowns in the United States have been political measures designed to alienate people and get them frustrated, i.e. get them voting Democrat. And that is turning to be the case. That's something that I suspected, but with Andrew Cuomo's recent declarations, it's proving to be true now, isn't it? But anyway, see, these communist socialists, they've done this before. This isn't new. This propagandizing and persecuting your political opponents and getting the media and everybody on your side in this a paroxysm of persecution. This is not new. This has happened before. It happened in Latin America. I'm from Latin America. I'm from Chile. And of course, I know my Latin American history. And I know very well how communist parties over the past century have created conditions very similar to what we're seeing in the United States that has led to a communist takeover. And the communist takeover usually ends, well, it ends like Venezuela is today. If you don't know, go look it up. Venezuela is a shithole. It's a disaster. Some very intelligent people think that it is about to suffer a catastrophic humanitarian crisis because of the communist mismanagement of that society. And that's a rich country. It's a country with oil, lots of it, you know? And somehow these commies managed to screw it up, which, you know, is par for the course, because communists, you know, they're not interested in actually bettering the country and making the individuals in the country, the people of the country, richer, healthier, happier. No, they're interested in power. And in the United States, they acquired it. And so now what you have to do as an American, as somebody living in the United States, you have to ask yourself if you want to live in a communist state. Now, a lot of people are going to say that, no, you know, I'm going to stand and fight. I'm going to stand and fight against this. I'm not going to just run away. I'm not a coward. They're going to use that explanation. I'm not a coward. I'm going to stand up and, you know, fight these communists. But you can't. See, because the communists took over the federal government. You can't fight the federal government. Look at Waco. Waco was, I think, the best proof ever that if the federal government really wants to take you out, there's nothing you can do about it. They'll bring in the tanks and they'll slide away. They'll be able to destroy you and everything you might have built and get away with it, which they did. In Waco, yeah, they might have like jailed somebody or other. I actually don't know. I don't remember the specifics of that, but I remember when it happened. And I remember what it meant back in '94 when I saw it happen. And what it meant was that, see, if the federal government turns on you and decides that you are the enemy, there is nothing for you to do about it. They're going to get you by fair means or foul. And if they can't get you legally, then they will go and burn you and your house down because they've done it. A couple of years ago on Zero Hedge, there was some analyst who was saying that the United States was a turnkey totalitarian state. What does that mean? It means that, you know, a turnkey property is a property that's good to go. It has everything. It's got beddings, it's got furniture, it's got cutlery, it's got cooking stuff. It's ready. You just move in, turn the key, and in you go, and you're living in it. A turnkey totalitarian state, well, that's what the United States was, according to this analyst. A state such that if a bad actor took control of it, he wouldn't have to do much to have all the tools of a totalitarian state. You know, media control, a compliant military willing to do whatever was ordered, the ability, the power to persecute any enemy. And we are seeing it now. The leftists, the Democrats, the people who are going to be in power, they have said openly that they plan to persecute their political opponents. Anybody who disagrees with them. Presumably, the 74 million people who voted for Joe Biden's opponent. Yeah, they're going to persecute them. And so I'm here to tell you, probably nobody else will, but I'm here to tell you, if you are an American, if you are living in the United States, now is the time to go. If you value your freedom, now is the time to go. Do you know the period in history in which we are living? You know, this fool Schwarzenegger claimed that the events of January 6th were Kristallnacht. He's an idiot. He doesn't know history. No. It wasn't Kristallnacht. The events of January 6th were like the Reichstag fire. A very ambiguous event that was used by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party to pass a whole bunch of domestic terrorism laws. That's right. Look it up. You don't have to take my word for it. Look it up. Even on Wikipedia, which is busy suppressing news and information and history, because it is, even on Wikipedia you can find the entry on the laws that were passed after the Reichstag fire. They were all about domestic terrorists. They were all about suppressing domestic terrorism. Suppressing, in the case of the Nazis, the communists, trade unions, Jews. It was about suppression of people. The events of January 6th are going to be used to pass a whole host of draconian measures, very similar to the Patriot Act. This domestic terrorism bill already exists, and it's existed among democratic circles for quite some time. And now they have the perfect opportunity to pass it. As soon as Joe Biden is installed as president on January 20th, on January 21st, they are going to put that bill to the vote. And the Democrats, i.e. the socialists/communists, they have the votes to pass it, and they will. And this domestic terrorism bill will be a bill that will deliberately undermine the civil rights that you hold so dear. And there will be nothing that you can do about it, about this rollback of your civil liberties. Do you know why? Because they control, they won, they have the power. And so they are going to roll back your rights that your forefathers fought so bravely for. They're going to roll them back, and there is nothing that you can do about it. And if you try to stand up and resist this, you will be declared a terrorist, a domestic terrorist, and you will have no rights. And you will be snatched up in some extra-legal, extra-judicial process and tossed into some jail somewhere where you will rot. And that's if you're lucky. And if you're not lucky, you're going to burn, like the people at Waco did. Like the people who have ever tried to fight the federal government. It's a turnkey totalitarian state. And the crazies have picked up the keys. That's the problem. And you think that AOC and the squad are kind of like the outliers. No. They're the mainstream of their insanity. And they're going to push it in every avenue of American life. So what can you do? As I see it, there are three options. Number one, fight. But as I've explained, as the Waco incident proved, you cannot fight the federal government. You can fight, that's one option, but I don't recommend it. On the contrary, if you fight, you'll lose, and it will be catastrophic for you. The second option is to bend the knee. To bend the knee and accept the terms of your surrender. And the third is to flee, to leave. To decide that you're not going to stick around, you're not going to bend the knee, you're going to go to some place where you can have a little bit of freedom. Perhaps not so many conveniences, but at least you'll be free. Those are the three options, and they are the only options. In my own case, long ago I decided that the United States was going totalitarian. And in my own case, long ago I decided to leave. I can go to the United States whenever I want to. That's not an issue. I can live there whenever I want to. I don't have any kind of legal obstacle to living in the United States, but I choose not to because I saw what was coming, and it has arrived. And to tell you the truth, I saw what was coming back in the 90s when I was in university. And all the craziness and insanity that left-wing professors and left-wing students were espousing. And I saw the best and the brightest of my generation keep their mouths shut. Just like shrug and just like, okay, well, we just have to live with these crazies. They didn't poke holes in their insane logic. They didn't resist their stupidity. They didn't stand up and say, what you're saying is absurd. No. I was at an Ivy League university, and frankly, I made a fool of myself repeatedly, standing up to the craziness of these leftists. At the times, I realized that they were crazy. I didn't have the tools or the arguments to defeat them, but I recognized these people are crazy, and I said so. And for my pains, people just like looked at me like I was weird. And people were like, just shut up, just let them spout their nonsense. And that's when I knew. I didn't know it in an articulate way, but I knew, I sensed it. I recognized that weakness that the elites, because that's where I was an elite university that trained people who would wind up in elite positions in the corporations and the federal bureaucracy. I saw how they just shrugged and accepted the insanity of these leftist communists, because I recognized that they were leftist communists, because I'd seen the insanity of the leftist communists at Dartmouth. I'd seen them back in Chile. So I knew what they were. And I tried to tell people, but they just accepted it. And of course, I was just one lone guy. So yeah, but that's when I knew. And that's why I haven't lived in the United States in over 20 years. Yeah, because this win by the socialist communists, by the communists really, because that's what they are. Even though a lot of them are in private enterprise and the tech companies and whatnot, they're communists, okay? And you have to understand, communists don't care about helping people. No, they don't. What they care about is power, using left-wing ideology and the politics of resentment and hatred. That's who these people are, and they won in the United States. That's crystal clear. And insofar as you are concerned, I am telling you, because probably nobody else will, there are only 3 options left for you. You can either fight, and you know how badly that will end for you. You can either bend the knee, or you can leave. Leave for a place that's freer. There are lots of places that are more free than the United States, certainly today. There are lots of places around the world. I can name offhand half a dozen. There's Vietnam, there's Cambodia, there's China, there's India, there's Belarus, there's Ukraine. Right there. A whole bunch of countries that are a lot freer than the United States. The problem is that they're backwards. See? That's the price of freedom. That you don't have all the conveniences and all the easy life that you have in America. And see, that perhaps is the thing. You cannot have freedom and comfort at the same time. You can have one or the other. And so it's up to you to decide, which do you want? Which do you prefer? Do you prefer comfort, or do you prefer freedom? There's nothing wrong with wanting comfort over freedom. And lots of people choose that. Lots of people decide that their comfort is worth more than their freedom, and they'll just settle. They'll settle for living under the boot of a totalitarian. I mean, people have done it before. Lots of people. In fact, the majority of people. Most people are willing to accept a boot on their shoulder so long as they get the comfort that they crave. That's a fact, And if you, after some soul searching, just really looking at yourself in the mirror and really just figuring yourself out and asking that hard question, if you decide that comfort is more important to you than freedom, that's fine, I'm not here to give any kind of moral judgment, okay? That's not my job. My job as a YouTuber, as a social media influencer, my job is not to tell you what's good or bad. My job is to point out the different options. The different options. And it's your decision, it's your choice, it's your obligation to figure out if, comfort is worth the price of your freedom. And if it's not, which is the choice I made, and it's a choice that might be right for me, but might not be right for you. But if you decide that freedom is more important, then I am telling you right here and now, leave now. Leave now, because in America things will only get worse. Over the next few months, there will be a period of time where things seem to get better. The economy will be opened up, there'll be an end to the lockdowns and so forth, right? And it'll seem that things are getting better, but it'll just be like a little speed bump. A little speed bump on the road to hell. And you'll see. Yeah. At first, things will be great. And I'll tell you, in 3 months from now, you'll look at this video and say that I was full of shit. That I just didn't know what I was talking about. Because things are going to be great. Yeah. In the springtime, in the summer, for the 4th of July, around then, it's going to be fantastic. And you'll say that I was a fool. Yeah. But you wait. You wait. They're going to spend money. They're going to have these big stimulus programs. They're going to slide by their domestic terrorism bill. And they're going to go after the quote-unquote extremists. And people will forget about it and not realize it. And you'll feel fine, and you'll get some stimulus check, and maybe you'll get a new job, and things will seem to be on the upswing, right? But then things are going to start to teeter. Then food prices are going to shoot the moon. That'll be the first sign that things are going tits up. Food prices. Food prices are going to start to shoot the moon, you know, and there's going to be like some rumblings, some unease. Food prices shoot the moon, and then gasoline prices shoot the moon, and then all of a sudden people are selling stuff to get cash. They're selling their toys, you know, like their skis or their jet skis or, you know, their old boat or whatever, and then their big truck, the truck that they really don't need, right? And they'll start to sell all that stuff, you know, and then their properties, and then they'll start selling their properties for peanuts, you know. Some house that was worth like $500,000, they'll try to sell it for $100,000, hell, for $70,000. They'll just need cash, and then it'll just snowball, and then it'll just go straight to hell, because it always does. That's how it's going to play out, because that's the same story every time. In every country that has tried communism, they call it socialism to disguise the fact, but it's communism. It's always the same. And it always starts the same. It starts with a party. The government hands out money hand over fist, and everything seems to be going great. And then it slowly begins to slide down. And that's why I'm telling you. I'm telling you because no one else will tell you, because they might not know it, or they might just be taking this advice for themselves. But I am telling you, man, leave now while you can.